Let's talk about building polarity and maintaining polarity, passion, intimacy in a long-term relationship. I have my wife Mariah here with me today. It's been a while since she's been on the channel. And we just really wanted to dive into this topic because it's such an important thing. I mean, for anyone, but especially it's been a very important part of our relationship. We've been together for almost 6.5 years now. And you start to realize that, like for me, the realization was having all this technical skill in sexual energy practices, controlling ejaculation, all these things. That was one level of skill. But being able to create desire and polarity and passion throughout a relationship as a whole, it's a whole nother thing.
Yeah, I'd say the main thing is just recognizing that it doesn't, it's very common for people to get to that point where the relationship just feels very neutral and there's no, passion or charge or anything in the relationship anymore, but it doesn't have to be common. It doesn't have to be what most people experience. It's just what most people kind of slip into and then don't really know how to get out of, because it's the main thing that's modeled to us in all relationships everywhere, whether it's TV and movies or in real life. It seems to be like an anomaly when people have been together for years and years and they're still really passionate and still really love each other, and that's something we've been working towards.
So relationships, like anything else, the tendency for us is to do something in the same way over and over again. We become habitual about things, and whatever becomes habitual becomes unconscious over time, and eventually it becomes a bit dull. It's like
when you eat the same thing over and over and over again, you kind of lose the excitement even about eating that food a lot of times for most people.
And it's like, why, when you first meet someone, why is it so exciting? Why is it so intimate and passionate? Obviously because there's a high degree of polarity. It's this brand new experience and everything's new. You're engaging in the situation, in the relationship, with a lot more awareness. You're aware of yourself. You're aware of how you're, when you're dating, there's just a higher degree of awareness. And really keeping that passion, intimacy alive is about maintaining awareness.
Yeah, I'd say that. And also really remembering that you never truly know everything about another person. Keeping your mind open to being surprised by the other person, that no matter how long you've been with someone, you never know when they're gonna surprise you and say something totally different than what you expect, or take a totally different action than what you expect, and just allowing that to continue being a possibility rather than making up a scenario in your head, predicting everything they're gonna do and say before they do it just because you know them really well.
And it's also understanding the dynamics of polarity, what creates attraction. You understand the yin and yang, masculine, feminine dynamics. And because the tendency is, as you are in a long-term relationship with someone, especially when you're living together, you start to become more like friends and roommates and less like lovers.
Living together, working together,
living
playing
together, working together, doing everything together. But you start to talk to them differently. You start to, and it's great to be yourself around someone, but also realizing there's certain things you may be doing. For example, touching unconsciously, when you unconsciously touch your partner in the same way, say the same things over and over again, it kind of diffuses the charge from that touch. It diffuses it.
Even having things like unconscious agreements where it's you have these expectations of each other that maybe were never spoken of, I'm going to take out the garbage every single week and that's how it is, but you just do it, so that becomes the expectation. And then when it doesn't happen, there's resentment and anger, when it's if you just speak to those things, that you can avoid conflict, but also there's more power and ownership and self-responsibility for both people of this is what I'm taking the lead on in our relationship, and this is what you're taking the lead on in our relationship. And I feel that is also something that really helps maintain that charge, because we both know what we're bringing to the relationship.
A huge part of the work for me was really stepping into my role as the man, as the masculine polarity, the masculine charge. And for me, that meant learning to take leadership, learning to create the container for our relationship, making the decision, saying this is what's happening today, and all these things. Because ultimately, maybe I'm speaking for you, but it seems like as a woman, when you have to make decisions, when I'm asking, well, what do you want to do for dinner? What do you want to do? Where do you want to go? Now you're in the decisive mode. I'm in this just open-ended kind of not taking the responsibility myself, basically putting that on you. And how does that make you feel?
100%. That's exactly it, is that when you're making decisions about things, even if it's just do you want to have this or this for dinner? It allows me to be in a more receptive state myself rather than a decisive decision-making mode. And I think especially because like we do life together, we do business together, we have similar like social circles, like we hang out with a lot of the same people, it can be really easy for both of us to take the lead in things. And the more that I practice being able to release control and release the grip on things, the more I'm able to be receptive, not only in my life with you, with friends, with other people, but also sexually. It allows me to be in more of a receiving state rather than a leading place of like, well, here's what I want to do, here's how it's going to happen, here's when, here's why. Like, it's very controlling. And when you're not taking the lead, it's easy for me to step up into that state. And that's when we realize that we're in neutrality with each other, we're in resonance with each other, and not polarity.
And this is an important point here of what she just said, the resonance versus polarity, because when you're with someone in the context of a relationship, coming back to that, are you friends or are you lovers? And you can certainly be both, but just understanding, like, for example, when you're sitting on the couch together watching a movie, if we're watching a movie together, we're both in a receptive state. We're both like sitting there absorbing what's happening in our feeling sense. And that's okay, but like there's probably not going to be a lot of polarity in that situation. Whereas when I'm asking you what's wrong, tell me, what's going on, and you're going into your deep feeling sense, going into your emotional body. And I'm not trying to change you or tell you like what you did right or wrong or telling you how I'm feeling. I'm simply sitting there listening to you, breathing, just holding myself. That is a lot more polarizing.
Yeah, just thinking about all kinds of different situations. It's like really just being aware that you get to choose in every situation if you want to be more in like the friendship zone and resonance, or if you want to be more in polarity and really be like building the fire between you two and building the passion, because you could create that through any situation. So even with the movie situation, like we could be watching a movie, but maybe we could just be like gently touching each other in a certain way that's like building that passion, even though we could also choose to just sit there and both watch it and like zone out and be in resonance. And similar with like going on a walk, we could just go on a walk as friends, or we could be like, we're intentionally going to use this time to create polarity in our relationship. And something that's been really, I would say, life-changing in our relationship for me is just being intentional and choosing when we're in like business mode together and friendship mode together versus relationship mode, and really being able to feel the difference between when we're in those different states, and noticing how when we're in business mode and when we're in friendship mode, I have more of a longing and desire to be back in polarity with you. And being aware of that, I feel like, is what creates that desire. Is it's not just happening out of chance. It's not just randomly happening, but like we're choosing all of it.
Some of the best advice for me from a couple we studied this work with was basically, because they're also, one of our biggest challenges has been the fact that we both basically work together. We're in each other's space all the time. And
we're fine. Like most of, like for the last 6.5 years, we've been good at that.
we're good at it, but
We don't like fight, but it doesn't create polarity.
Yeah, exactly. That was one of the biggest things. Was
Yeah.
that it was basically killing polarity for a
Yeah.
period of time if we weren't aware of the dynamic. And so the advice that really helped me was when we're in business mode, understand we're in business mode. Don't expect sexy time. In that mode, you have to transition out of that, and especially like limiting physical contact. Actually, like I shouldn't be hugging you and kissing you and telling you I love you when we're doing business stuff, because it kind of it dilutes that container, it dilutes the container of our intimacy and romance and passion. Because the whole thing is you have to be able to wear those different hats, so to speak, but be able to step into like a different container for each one.
Exactly, which is what makes me want it even more when we do get back into relationship mode, because you weren't touching me and kissing me the whole time that we were in business mode. So I'm like, oh, I miss that. I want that.
Communication can be a very powerful tool for polarity building, but also understanding the nuances of communication. For example, something that became very obvious to me was if we're both trying to tell each other, well, I feel this way, well, I feel this way, I'm angry at you for this, blah, blah, blah. We're both in a feminine state. We're both going within ourselves, feeling and trying to like express that to the other person. And this creates a strong clashing. It creates a neutralization. It creates a resonance, you could say, and it's going to kill polarity. So a tool that we learned, which is extremely valuable, we continue to use it, all the time, is understanding the polarity of communication. And there's many aspects to this. One, first of all, being that whenever either of us is when there's any sort of issue, like I'm feeling irritated about something, or you're feeling a bit off, whatever, which happens all the time.
Yeah.
The quicker we're able to express it and communicate it, the better, because otherwise my tendency has been just to like hold on to like little resentments and things. But, oh, I'm fine. The typical nice guy pattern. And it just builds up, and it's just stupid. It hurts our relationship. It hurts our intimacy. So the sooner you can communicate, the better. So if you guys enjoyed this video, if you want to learn more about polarity work, let me know in the comments below if you'd like to see more content like this. And this is also kind of an example of what Mariah and I are teaching in my Sex God course, where we're going in depth into polarity practices and how to maintain intimacy and passion in a long-term relationship.
And it's an entire year long, because these things don't change overnight.
It's deep.
It takes time.
It's deep.
And practice.
Put more information for that course in the description of this video. Thanks for joining me, Mariah. Make sure you subscribe to my channel, give the video a like, and have a great day.